Marcus Smart opens up about his recent talks with Jayson Tatum as the Celtic star continues his long Achilles comeback journey. Marcus Smart once symbolized the heartbeat of the Boston Celtics, a relentless defender, an emotional anchor, and a voice that blended accountability with brotherhood. Years have passed since Smart's last game in green, yet the relationships he cemented across 9 seasons in Boston remain firmly intact. Those bonds resurfaced publicly this week when Smart discussed his recent conversation with Celtics forward Jayson Tatum, who is recovering from a torn Achilles tendon suffered during the 2025 NBA playoffs. Smart, now a member of the Los Angeles Lakers, spoke at length about Tatum's injury and rehabilitation progress. His words captured the enduring loyalty that persists between the former teammates and offered rare insight into the environment surrounding Tatum as he navigates one of the most difficult recovery processes in professional sports. "It's something you never want to see happen to any player," Smart said when speaking with ClutchPoint reporter Josu Pavon. "I talked to him a little bit. I'm praying for him. Obviously, I hope he gets the resources he needs. Looks like he's doing a good job with his rehab. You never want to see anybody in this league, any of our colleagues, go down the way that he went down. I want them to be on the court, so we can go out there and perform, and everybody can do what they have to do to feed their families." Smart's remarks underscored the depth of their relationship, a connection built through playoff battles, locker room conversations, cross-country flights, practice scrimmages, and years of mutual trust. Despite now representing the Celtics' greatest historical rival, Smart spoke with clarity and empathy about Tatum's situation. This extended report examines not only Smart's comments, but the full context of Tatum's rehabilitation, the Celtics' cautious strategy, the physical science behind Achilles injuries, the evolution of the Boston Lakers dynamic through Smart's new chapter, and how Tatum's journey may redefine the Celtics' trajectory for seasons to come. By the injury that altered Boston's path, what Tatum's Achilles tear meant when Tatum suffered the torn Achilles tendon, the immediate shock reverberated across the league. Achilles tears are among the most feared injuries in basketball due to their extended recovery timeline and the demanding rehabilitation process players must undergo to return to pre-injury performance. For Boston, the timing reshaped their entire competitive future. Tatum was coming off a season where he reaffirmed his position as one of the league's premier scorers and two-way forwards. His durability throughout earlier seasons had contributed significantly to the Celtics' sustained success, but the Achilles injury forced the organization to shift from title pursuit to long-term protection mode. The Celtics had spent over half a decade building a system around Tatum's scoring versatility, defensive commitment, and leadership growth. His injury paused that progression, forcing the franchise to recalibrate roster decisions, player development plans, and long-term strategies. More importantly, it brought the human side of the NBA into sharp focus, the emotional and physical weight an athlete carries when confronting a career-altering setback. 2. Marcus Smart's connection to Tatum, a brotherhood forged in Boston. Marcus Smart arrived in Boston in 2014, long before Tatum joined the team. When Tatum was drafted in 2017, Smart quickly became one of the first teammates to take him under his wing. Their dynamic blended veteran leadership with mutual competitiveness. Throughout their overlapping seasons, Tatum and Smart anchored several of Boston's deepest playoff runs. The pair shared 6 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, 1 NBA Finals appearance in 2022, a culture of defensive intensity and accountability, a leadership transition that saw Tatum grow into the franchise cornerstone. Smart's departure from Boston in 2023 marked the end of a chapter. But even as he transitioned to Memphis and eventually to Los Angeles, the lines of communication between him and Tatum never thinned. So when Smart discussed his check-in with Tatum, it did not sound unusual. It sounded like a continuation of a long-standing partnership. Even today, Smart remains one of the few players Tatum regularly references when discussing leadership lessons, emotional growth, and locker room culture. 3. The Celtics' response, caution, patience, and player-first medical strategy. In the weeks following the injury, Celtics president of basketball operations Brad Stevens made one theme clear: Boston would not allow pressure, public expectations, or seasonal urgency to dictate Tatum's recovery timeline. Stevens reiterated that stance throughout the offseason. "We won't put a projected timeline on him for a long time," Stevens said, via ESPN. "It's baby steps right now. He's actually progressed great, but I don't know what that means in regard to projected timelines. But that will be in consultation with him and everybody else to make sure when he hits the court he is fully ready and fully healthy, and that will be the priority." This approach mirrors Boston's broader organizational philosophy. During Stevens' tenure, the Celtics have routinely embraced long-term thinking in player development, load management, and health protocols. Tatum's injury tests that philosophy more than any previous situation. The Celtics have adopted a comprehensive strategy focused on daily strength metrics, calf-to-calf load balancing, tendon elasticity tracking, hydration and tissue management, progressive resistance protocols, movement repatterning, controlled scrimmage simulations. Every step of Tatum's rehab is approached with collaboration, allowing him to dictate his pace while ensuring medical experts provide strict oversight. 4. Inside the science. Why Achilles injuries demand patience. Achilles tears are among the most challenging injuries in sports. The tendon plays a crucial role in every element of basketball movement: sprinting, cutting, leaping, absorbing impact, and decelerating. The repair process includes several phases. 1. Initial protection and tissue healing. The first weeks involve immobilization and controlled loading to allow the tendon to reattach and begin forming new collagen fibers. 2. Gradual weight bearing. Athletes start reintroducing weight through the tendon while maintaining stability. This phase rebuilds early strength. 3. Structural reinforcement and strength matching. Tatum mentioned the importance of calf strength, noting that rehabilitation benchmarks include achieving equal or greater strength in the injured leg compared to the healthy leg. 4. Explosive loading, reintroducing plyometric movements, change of direction drills, and controlled acceleration. 5. Basketball-specific conditioning movement patterns are relearned with progressive intensity. 6. Return to full-speed play. Game intensity remains the final and most unpredictable phase. Players often require months of ramping before feeling fully natural again. Tatum has progressed through early stages smoothly, according to both team reports and his own commentary. V. Tatum's own words, confidence without complacency. Tatum recently outlined his mindset during the rehab process, focusing on the work being done rather than the calendar or public expectations. I know the number is low, Tatum said when asked about re-injury risk. Everybody thinks it's a time-based recovery. Time is obviously important, but you have to hit certain benchmarks. The most important thing is all these tests of your strength, the strength in your calf, the strength in your leg. He continued. For some guys, that takes 6, 9, 12 months. Everybody's just different. But the surgery that I got, the things that we've been doing, I feel very, very confident in that surgical site. We won't have that problem again. Tatum's reassurance highlights the mental foundation needed for a successful recovery. The psychological component, trust in the tendon, trust in the rehab plan, and trust in one's body, remains one of the toughest hurdles. 6. The psychological battle. Returning from an Achilles tear, star athletes frequently emphasize that the mental side of recovery is as challenging as the physical aspect. For Tatum, the injury occurred during a postseason run, a period where competitive urgency and adrenaline peak. The sudden need to shift into a long rehabilitation process required retraining patience, accepting a slower daily rhythm, staying connected to team activities while being unable to participate, maintaining morale during plateaus, building mental toughness amid uncertainty. Tatum has relied on Boston's medical, psychological, and performance staff to maintain mental stability during the process. The daily structure of rehab, which includes scheduled exercises, strength testing, meetings, film sessions, and mobility work, has helped him maintain focus and routine. 7. How the Celtics have reshaped their season without Tatum. As Boston entered the 2025-26 campaign, they did so knowing their franchise centerpiece would likely be absent for a significant portion, if not the entirety, of the year. The organization responded by elevating minutes for emerging players, experimenting with offensive schemes not reliant on Tatum's shot creation, strengthening defensive identity to compensate for lost scoring, investing in deeper rotation flexibility, building a system that can seamlessly reintegrate Tatum later. The Celtics have refrained from panic trades or short-term roster patches. Instead, they remain committed to a long-range plan centered around Tatum returning to dominance. 8. The league-wide impact. How the NBA views Tatum's recovery. Tatum's comeback is being watched across the league with immense interest. Achilles returns have shaped NBA history. Kobe Bryant's legendary return, Kevin Durant's triumphant comeback with Brooklyn, Klay Thompson's lengthy battle back to his championship form, DeMarcus Cousins' struggles post-injury. Tatum's rehab exists within that historical context. Teams, analysts, and medical staffs across the league are observing Boston's strategy, studying Tatum's progress, and evaluating what his eventual return could signal for future Achilles recoveries. If Tatum successfully returns to all-NBA form, it will further validate modern surgical techniques and rehabilitation evolution. 9. The human relationship behind the headlines. Smart and Tatum's continued bond. 4 years, Smart and Tatum shared the floor during critical postseason moments. Their on-court energy often determined Boston's emotional and competitive pulse. Even after leaving the organization, Smart remains connected to these bonds. His transition to the Lakers has added drama to the rivalry, but Smart made clear that personal ties transcend jersey colors. His support of Tatum demonstrates professional respect, personal loyalty, mutual admiration. A continuity of brotherhood from Boston's past-era players across the league echoed similar sentiments, with many offering private encouragement to Tatum. X Looking ahead, what Tatum's return will mean for Boston. Whenever Tatum returns, whether late in the season or the following year, his presence will mark a turning point. The Celtics will have spent months building complementary pieces, refining rotations, and expanding the skill sets of younger players. With Tatum back, Boston can resume its identity as a two-way powerhouse built around star wing play. Early expectations include measured minutes, gradual offensive reintegration, restricted back-to-backs, targeted matchup usage over time. As Tatum regains speed, explosiveness, and rhythm, the Celtics expect him to rebuild his All-NBA impact. The organization believes the long-term benefits of caution outweigh any short-term competitive loss. 11. Final outlook. A long journey, supported at every step. Tatum's Achilles comeback is a story defined by patience, structure, medical precision, and unwavering support, from the Celtics, from the league, and from figures like Marcus Smart, who shaped Boston's identity for nearly a decade. The forward still faces months of work, constant testing, and progressive reintegration, but he has approached each step with discipline and confidence, and his support system remains present and active. Smart's recent comments further highlight the humanity behind NBA competition. Despite moving on professionally, he remains committed to the well-being of the teammate he spent years battling alongside. As Tatum advances through each phase, Boston will continue to navigate the season with an eye on the future, a future that remains anchored in Tatum's eventual return. The Celtics will wait, Tatum will work, and the league will anticipate the moment one of basketball's brightest stars steps back into the spotlight.